Ladies and gentlemen, get your pens and papers ready. I'm going to give you James Traficant's address if you want to support him. He's completely penniless after 7.5 years in prison, solitary confinement, you name it. Before we go back to him, we support the patriots out there, and we also need your support as this platform to try to get everybody's voices heard and out there. We sell a lot of great books and videos at Infowars.com. This right now is our bestseller, Shadow Government, exposing the whole global police-state grid they're putting in. We have this discounted at Infowars.com. Jesse Ventura's new book. You get it discounted and a free video, free documentary film of your choice at Infowars.com. Nobody else is offering this. Jesse Ventura, American Conspiracies, new book right now. How Weed Won the West, exposing government drug dealing and how they control the drug war. That DVD is now shipping that I'm in and consulted on. Available at Infowars.com. Fall the Republic, exposing how these big offshore banks control both parties. The Obama deception, all available at Infowars.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. If you want to support Mr. Traficant so he can get back on his feet and then get justice and go after the criminals that put him in prison, but that's how they bankrupt you so you can't defend yourself. It's 429 North Main Street, 429 North Main Street, and that's Poland, like the country, 429 North Main Street, Poland, Ohio, 44514. So here's the address again, 429 North Main Street, Poland, Ohio, 44514. And I've studied his case. I've also studied Governor Don Siegelman's case. And back at the time when they railroaded him, we looked at it and said this is completely staged. Turned out U.S. prosecutors that worked for Karl Rove, he ordered it. They've testified to this now. Get him. They kept coming after him, investigation after investigation, all made up, lying. Then they threatened to indict one of his employees for something totally separate outside the Capitol and said, lie about him, we won't send you to prison. Basically, same thing happened to Mr. Traficant. Don Siegelman. Now, he got out after 9 months and has been vindicated and it's admitted it was a fraud. He was going to serve a decade. Not with Traficant. He was there 7.5 years, and they told him, and he'll talk about this in a moment, anytime you say you're guilty, we'll let you go. Now, so first they try to pull some medical scams on him. They put him in with the illegal aliens. They put him into gladiator school, medium, maximum security, high security. Continue, Congressman Traficant, with what happened to you in prison.
Well, at some particular point, you know, you made the statement that you have to stand on your own 2 feet and you have to be prepared for almost anything. And I had an awful lot of enemies in the prison system, and I didn't know exactly who or how someone might come at you. So you sleep with one eye open, Alex. But the bottom line was that I not only did that I developed what I consider to be a firm resolve. And one thing Nelson Mandela said, you never really know a country unless you go through their prison system. And that's one thing he was exactly right about. You see the other side of the United States of America. We've got such crippling problems. But I survived. I was not afraid to survive. I told them where they could shove that pardon, because I certainly wasn't going to admit to something that I didn't do. But very few people know is that before that trial, the Northern District Court, federal court system of Ohio, passed a rule that if you got a judge from a particular area, you got a jury from that area. And it would become the Traficant rule, because basically nobody in my congressional district was eligible to serve on my jury. Second of all, the judge made my witnesses testify in open court under the threat of perjury to her outside the presence of a jury, and they told her the truth. No one was charged for perjury, but she did not allow them to testify to the jury. And 4 of those people said that of the 7 people who testified against me, they had admitted to somebody close or whomever who had confided in me that they lied so they wouldn't go to prison themselves or have their wife indicted or their kids indicted or their company taken away, et cetera, et cetera. 4 of the 7, she didn't allow it to go to the jury. Now we find out after the trial was over that one of the key witnesses against me, who was perjured himself in my trial because he was caught perjuring himself in a previous trial, that the judge's husband had a relationship business-wise with that family. I mean, this thing, it was so abusive that it speaks out. But when you're the number 1 target of the Justice Department, the number 1 target of the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, Alex, you have nowhere to turn. You got to stand on your own 2 feet and hopefully outlive it and come back and try and do what you can about it.
Now, Congressman, let's break this down, though. The type of threats you got when you were in Congress, and how you got set up. There's this crisis of confidence now because police all over the country, in every major city of Texas, just as an example, have been caught planting drugs on people to take their property. It's now standard procedure. They admit they have informants lie on the stand about political enemies they have. I mean, they can put anybody they want in prison, but the public now knows it's a fraud. It's like the death penalty. I'm for the death penalty at a grassroots level if they catch somebody who's murdered a kid. The problem is more than a third of those on death row, it's been proven with DNA, are totally innocent. We know that the system is so corrupt you can't trust anything they say or do. But briefly, because I remember seeing it in the news, the hell in the 7.5 years. I know as a man you don't like to talk about what happened to you. You just want to be tough and ignore it. But people need to know the type of persecution. I mean, tell us more of what happened in prison.
Well, you're under constant threat. With me, I did months and months after end in the hole in isolation because they said my attitude. But basically, they were trying to break me. And I survived all that time in prison. I never even acknowledged the presence of any of the wardens. I couldn't tell you their names. I just kept them.
Hold on a minute. Let's go back over this. So explain it. They said some little punk jail guard, some sadist, has this congressman, this icon, and they're telling you, I don't like your attitude, boy. You're going to spend how long in the hole?
Well, they find out, or use little maneuvers that they have. And I believe I spent close to 7 months in the hole over a period of time. And that's in the hole means that you get a shower every second day, 3 times a week. You get to go out 1 hour a day. And to tell you the truth, Alex, I never left the place. I became very hardened. I think that they looked at me and they said, this guy is very hard, because I didn't give a damn about anything. I forfeited my life. If I survived, I'd do what I had to do. But I wasn't going to buckle down. I wasn't going to be intimidated. Stood my ground, did what I had to do. But like I said, I could have had a pardon. But there's no way I was going to make admissions of something that I didn't do. And I want all your listeners to listen to this very carefully. 6-year investigation, $15 million, over 250 agents. And they said they didn't make any tapes on Jim Traficant, didn't bug my telephone. Now a Secret Service agent has come out, retired, Mike Robertson, and made the following statement. He said Traficant was certainly railroaded. He said they had no physical evidence. He said they bugged that guy to death. They had people go to him with body mics. He said anybody in their right mind knows that. He said the reason the government voluntarily made that admission in court is because Traficant could have subpoenaed all of their tapes and said, where's the crime? Now, I want your listeners to remember this. They said they made no tapes, didn't bug my telephone or anything for 6 years now. If you believe that, I got some property down in Florida I think somebody wants to sell you.
Well, sir, you've been vindicated, and that's all over the press. I mean, you have officially been vindicated like Governor Siegelman, but he only got 9 months. You got 7.5 years and got financially ruined. How are you going to come back at him? I mean, you now have the Secret Service agent. You have all these other witnesses against you recanting that it was done under pressure. You've got to get on the attack in my estimation, or correct me if I'm wrong, or they're going to try to set you up again.
Here's where we are, Alex. Right now, there's a man in Washington, D.C. that was pressured to lie against me. He's a brilliant man, Richard Detour. He could fly any aircraft, and he's a brilliant engineer. And the government wanted him to be a witness against me because he was very intelligent, very credible. And they wanted him to say that he saw a businessman give me an envelope with money, thousands of dollars, in my office. And he basically said, I won't do that. I know, Jim, if he's done something wrong, go after him, but I'm not going to lie. They come back to him later, and they pressured him to say that he was standing outside the door, and he heard the transaction. He said, I just won't do it. Now, his attorney that he had was a former U.S. attorney who was pressuring him along with the government. So he fired that attorney, and they indicted him to keep him out of my case. The bottom line is, here's how egregious it was. When they brought the witness to testify against me in trial, he stated that he gave me the money in an automobile in Youngstown, Ohio. But the government is clearly on record now, is trying to pressure Richard Detour to say that he saw the transaction in my office. And it was the prosecutor who was doing this. By the way, the prosecutor is now working for some insurance company in Columbus, Ohio, and everybody's scared to death of what happened because they know that I'm not afraid to speak my mind.
Well, let's stop there for a second, former Congressman James Traficant. I'm sure you're aware of Don Siegelman's case. It's even 60 Minutes reported it was all a stage deal. The majority of these former state attorneys, U.S. attorneys, came out and said it was a fraud. A bunch of Republicans came to his aid, even though he's a Democrat. It's now admitted, ordered one of his aides to lie and say he saw the check, the same thing, and it turned out that was a complete lie. So this is, and it's now been confirmed, Karl Rove ordered this. I mean, do you know specifically in the U.S. Attorney's Office who gave the orders to set you up?